Have you ever thought about it? Throughout your life, you try not to harm anyone. You treat people with respect. You help when help is needed. You are careful not to violate anyone's rights. In fact, most of the time, you even put your own interests second. Yet, despite all this, you begin to notice that some people keep their distance from you. Some people simply do not like you. At first, you do not notice it. Because there is no open hostility, no one comes up to you and says, "I don't like you." No one treats you badly to your face. Everything seems normal. Conversations happen, greetings are exchanged, and daily life goes on. But over time, you begin to sense something you cannot explain in certain looks, certain silences, and certain behaviors. It feels as though there is an invisible distance, as though people are not completely open with you. Something feels missing, yet you cannot figure out what it is. The interesting part is this: most of the time you cannot find the reason, because there truly is no concrete reason. You have not harmed anyone. You have not taken advantage of anyone. In fact, most of the time, you have wished people well, offered help, and treated them with respect. Yet you still feel that some people do not like you. This is exactly the point where the mind turns inward. You begin to wonder, did I do something wrong? Maybe you try to remember a sentence you once said. Maybe you replay a past event over and over in your mind. Maybe you even convince yourself that you must have made a mistake without realizing it. But one of the truths that life teaches most people rather late is this: the reason people do not like you is not always because of something you did wrong. In fact, sometimes the feelings people have toward you have very little to do with you. The reason is that human nature is not nearly as objective as we like to believe. People do not see things as they are. They see things through the filter of their fears, their wounds, their past experiences, and their insecurities. That is why the same person can be deeply admired by one individual and disliked for no apparent reason by another. Perhaps this is the truth that no one has ever told you before. People do not see you through their eyes, they see you through their inner world. What people see when they look at you is not always you. Sometimes they see their own fears. Sometimes they see their own inadequacies. Sometimes they see the person they wanted to become but never managed to be. And most of the time, they are not even aware of it. Think about it. Why does a confident person make some people uncomfortable? Why does a successful person create uneasiness in others? Why does a happy person create a strange tension in certain people? Because the human mind is constantly comparing. Without realizing it, you may cause someone else to reflect on their own life. You may simply be doing your own thing while someone else is comparing your success to their failures. You may simply be being yourself while someone else is comparing your courage to their fears. Most people do not want to confront the real source of that discomfort. Because confrontation is difficult. Admitting your shortcomings is difficult. Facing your fears is difficult. So the mind chooses an easier path. Instead of looking for the source of discomfort within itself, it looks for it in the person standing in front of it. In other words, in you. As a result, without even realizing it, you can be declared guilty within someone else's inner world, even when no real offense has been committed. Throughout history, many people have experienced this. Successful individuals, leaders, artists, thinkers, and even ordinary people. What they had in common was not that they were bad people. What they had in common was that they unintentionally triggered something within someone else's inner world. Because sometimes people do not dislike you because of what you do. They dislike you because of how you make them feel. And those feelings are often beyond your control. Perhaps the answer to some of the situations in your life that never made sense lies right here. Maybe the reason some people act distant toward you is not because of something you said. Maybe you did not make a mistake. Maybe you are not the one who is wrong. Maybe you simply remind them without meaning to of a truth they do not want to see. Human nature is not always as fair as we think it is. Sometimes people make decisions based not on facts but on feelings. Then afterward, they create reasons to justify those feelings. That is why some people judge you without ever truly knowing you. Some label you based on a few minutes of impression. Some never change the opinion they formed about you, even after years. Because most people are not searching for the truth. They are searching for the version of the truth that aligns with what they already believe. And this does not happen only to you. Sooner or later, almost everyone who tries to achieve something in life, who walks their own path and who dares to think differently from the crowd will encounter this reality. In this video, we are going to talk about why people may dislike you even when you have done nothing wrong, the psychological reasons behind it, and the mental mistakes that most people make throughout their lives without even realizing it. Because the way some people treat you is not as much about who you are as you might think. Sometimes what people see when they look at you is not you at all, but the truths they are trying to escape within themselves. And the day you understand this, you will stop wondering why people do not like you and start understanding why they are so affected by you. One of the biggest reasons people may dislike you is that they do not actually see you as you are. That may sound strange, because most of us believe that people judge us based on our actions. If we are kind, we expect to be seen as kind. If we are honest, we expect to be recognized as honest. But real life rarely works that way. The human mind does not function like an objective camera. People interpret everything they see through the lens of their own experiences. That is why the way someone sees you often reveals more about who they are than who you are. For example, imagine someone who has spent years dealing with dishonest people. Even when that person meets someone who is genuinely honest, they may still be inclined to doubt them. Their mind has become accustomed to suspicion rather than trust. You may be honest, but that person may struggle to see you that way. Likewise, someone who has been constantly criticized in the past may interpret even an innocent comment as an attack. Their mind has been programmed to protect itself. It is not your words that are creating the reaction, it is their past experiences. Most people are unaware of this because they see themselves as rational and objective. They believe that their judgments are based entirely on facts. But psychology tells us something different. Most of the time, people feel first and think later. A feeling emerges first, and then the mind begins searching for reasons to justify that feeling. Perhaps that is why some people dislike you from the very first moment they meet you. There is no real reason for it, yet they never seem to warm up to you. No matter what you say or do, that initial feeling remains unchanged. Because the issue is not what you are saying. The issue is that the first impression formed in their mind continues to reinforce itself over time. We can see countless examples of this in everyday life. The same person may be loved by one group and disliked by another. The exact same behavior may be seen as confidence by one person and arrogance by another. The same silence may be interpreted as maturity by one individual and coldness by someone else. So how can such different opinions exist about the same person? Because people do not live according to reality itself. They live according to their interpretation of reality. If someone carries jealousy within them, they will view the success of others differently. If someone carries insecurity, they will view confidence differently. If someone carries fear, they will view courage differently. Everyone paints the outside world with the colors of their own inner world. And that is precisely why, sometimes, the way people treat you has very little to do with you. You are simply making visible emotions that already exist within them. Perhaps your hard work reminds them of the goals they have been postponing. Perhaps your confidence exposes the insecurities they have struggled with for years. Perhaps your peace of mind highlights the chaos within their own lives. And the interesting thing about human nature is this: people often do not want to confront the true source of their discomfort, because facing themselves is difficult. Instead, they choose to see the person who triggered that discomfort as the problem. That is why sometimes someone disliking you does not mean that you are a bad person. In fact, it may be the opposite. It may simply be a reflection of struggles they are trying to resolve within themselves, projected onto you without them even realizing it. Understanding this is important, because if you spend your entire life trying to be liked by everyone, you will eventually lose yourself. You will begin shaping your identity around the expectations of others. Yet it is inevitable that some people will misunderstand you, because most of the time, they are not seeing you at all. They are seeing a reflection of their own inner world. And once you understand this truth, you slowly stop taking every opinion people have about you personally. Another reason why some people may dislike you is the tendency to compare. Whether consciously or unconsciously, the human mind is constantly making comparisons. People measure their own lives, achievements, relationships, and even their happiness against those around them. Because of this, something completely ordinary that you do can trigger unexpected emotions in someone else's inner world. You may simply be living your life, yet someone watching you may begin drawing conclusions about their own. Without realizing it, your presence can become a mirror that reflects parts of themselves they would rather not see. For example, if someone has been postponing an important goal for years, your discipline may make them uncomfortable. You may simply be working hard, but they may compare your consistency to their own procrastination. You may simply be moving forward toward a goal, while they compare your progress to their lack of movement. Most of the time, this comparison is not conscious. People rarely say to themselves, "I dislike this person because they remind me of my own shortcomings." Instead, they begin looking for flaws in that person. By doing so, they convince themselves that their discomfort has a logical explanation. One of the most fascinating aspects of human nature is that people often judge others not by who they truly are, but by the emotions they trigger. If someone feels inadequate in your presence, they may start seeing you as the problem rather than examining the source of that feeling. This happens because the human mind finds it easier to place responsibility outside itself than to confront its own insecurities. As a result, people sometimes dislike not your character, but the emotions your existence awakens within them. History is filled with examples of this phenomenon. People who achieved success, created something meaningful, or chose to walk a different path from the crowd often received far less support than they expected. This is because success does not always inspire people. Sometimes it unsettles them, especially when that success comes from someone with a similar background, similar opportunities, or similar circumstances. In those moments, people are often forced to look at their own lives. They begin remembering the goals they abandoned, the risks they never took, and the opportunities they allowed to pass by. And that kind of reflection is not always comfortable. Perhaps this is why the way certain people treat you has changed over time. You may have remained the same person. You may still have the same values, the same character, and the same intentions. Yet as aspects of your life began to improve, the way some people looked at you began to change as well. This is because many people are influenced less by who you are and more by what your presence makes them feel. And sometimes the discomfort they feel has nothing to do with anything wrong that you have done. It comes from the truths about their own lives that your existence quietly reminds them of.